Hello, everyone. Have you ever been so excited about a dream or a goal that you couldn't wait to share it with someone? You tell your friends, your family, maybe even a random acquaintance, expecting their enthusiasm to match yours only to be met with skepticism, doubt, or worse, indifference. Today, I want to talk about why sometimes it's okay, no, it's necessary to keep your plans for the future to yourself. Specifically, let's talk about 2025, that shimmering year just over the horizon. We live in a world where it feels like everything must be shared. Social media asks, what's on your mind? Society tells us that transparency equals authenticity. But let me tell you something. Vulnerability often carries a weighty misunderstanding. It's frequently seen as weakness, as though being vulnerable is synonymous with exposing your soft underbelly to a harsh and judgmental world. But in truth, vulnerability is the birthplace of courage, creativity, and authentic connection. It's not about oversharing or giving away all of yourself to anyone who asks. Instead, vulnerability is about showing up, being real, and staying grounded even when the stakes are high. It's about opening the door to possibility, not throwing it wide open to every passerby. Let's start by dispelling a common myth. Vulnerability does not mean giving everyone access to your innermost thoughts, plans, or dreams. This misunderstanding often leads people to treat vulnerability as a confession booth, a place to unload everything in the name of authenticity. But authenticity isn't about transparency for transparency's sake. It's about intentionality. Imagine for a moment that you're working on a deeply personal project, a new business idea, a piece of art, or even a personal transformation like improving your health. You're excited, nervous, and eager to share your progress with the world. So you tell a friend or colleague about it, expecting their support or encouragement. Instead, you're met with skepticism. Are you sure that's a good idea, or worse, indifference? Their response, even if well-meaning, plants a tiny seed of doubt that wasn't there before. This moment is a perfect example of why vulnerability must be balanced with discernment. When you share too much, too soon, you risk exposing yourself to feedback or criticism that can shake your confidence. That doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. But being human also means learning to recognize when to share and when to hold something close. Vulnerability isn't about bearing it all, it's about choosing who gets to see what, when, and why. At its core, vulnerability is an act of bravery. It takes immense courage to step into the unknown and trust yourself, even when you're not entirely sure how things will turn out. But courage doesn't mean giving the whole world a backstage pass to your journey. Courage means knowing that your journey is worth protecting, even if it means walking parts of it alone or with only a select few by your side. This distinction is especially important when it comes to your plans and goals. When you're working towards something significant, your plans are like seedlings. They need care, attention, and a safe environment to grow. Sharing them prematurely is like pulling those seedlings out of the soil to show them off before their roots are strong enough to hold. In doing so, you risk stunting their growth, or worse, losing them altogether. There's a reason why we're often advised to choose our confidants wisely. Not everyone has the capacity to honor your vulnerability or hold your dreams with the same care and reverence that you do. Some people will project their own fears and limitations onto your goals. Others might unintentionally trivialize your aspirations because they don't understand them, and some simply aren't equipped to support you in the ways you need. That doesn't make them bad people, it just means they aren't the right people to bring into your vulnerable moments. True vulnerability requires discernment. It asks us to pause and consider who has earned the right to hear this, who has proven that they can hold space for me without judgment or agenda. When you frame vulnerability through this lens, it becomes less about exposure and more about connection. You begin to see it as a sacred exchange, not a public performance. Here's another thing to consider: the impact of external voices on your inner narrative. When you share your plans too freely, you invite opinions, some of which may contradict your vision or values. Even if you're confident in your direction, the sheer volume of outside input can be overwhelming. It's like trying to listen to your favorite song in a crowded room full of noise. Your plans deserve a quieter, more focused space to develop, free from unnecessary distractions. This doesn't mean you should keep everything bottled up or refuse to share with anyone. Vulnerability is also about connection, and connection requires sharing. But there's a difference between intentional sharing and indiscriminate oversharing. Intentional sharing is grounded in trust and mutual respect. It's a two-way street where both parties feel safe to show up as they are. Indiscriminate oversharing, on the other hand, often stems from a need for validation or approval. It's a way of seeking reassurance from others rather than cultivating it within yourself. When you treat vulnerability as courage rather than confession, you begin to see it as a tool for empowerment. You recognize that you don't need to tell everyone everything to be authentic. Authenticity isn't about how much you reveal, it's about how true you are to yourself in every situation. Sometimes being true to yourself means holding your dreams close, protecting them as they take shape, and sharing them only when you feel ready. This approach doesn't just protect your plans, it also preserves your energy. Vulnerability is an emotional investment, and like any investment, it requires careful consideration. When you pour your energy into people or situations that can't reciprocate, you drain yourself unnecessarily. But when you invest your vulnerability in the right places, it creates a ripple effect of trust, connection, and growth. It's worth noting that the line between courage and oversharing isn't always clear. There will be times when you misjudge, when you share with the wrong person or in the wrong moment. That's okay, it's part of the learning process. The key is to approach vulnerability with intention, knowing that it's not about perfection, but about showing up in a way that feels aligned with who you are and what you need. Vulnerability is courage, not a confession booth. It's about honoring yourself and your journey while recognizing that not everyone is meant to walk it with you. Boundaries often get a bad reputation. They're sometimes misunderstood as barriers meant to keep people out, as walls erected to protect us from the world. But boundaries, when set with intention, are not walls. They are bridges, pathways that connect us more deeply to ourselves and to others. They are the foundation of self-trust, a compass that guides us toward healthy relationships, personal growth, and emotional well-being. To understand boundaries, it's important to first clarify what they are not. Boundaries are not acts of isolation or hostility. They are not rules meant to control others or demands made out of fear. They are also not selfish. Setting a boundary doesn't mean you're shutting people out. It means you're prioritizing your well-being and creating a space where trust can flourish, trust in yourself and in the relationships you choose to nurture. At their core, boundaries are an expression of self-awareness and self-respect. They reflect an understanding of your own needs, limits, and values. When you set a boundary, you're saying, this is what I need to feel safe, respected, and whole. It's not a rejection of others, it's an affirmation of yourself. However, many people struggle with boundaries because they fear the reaction they might provoke. Will people see them as difficult? Will they be upset? These fears are valid, especially in a world that often equates people-pleasing with kindness. But the truth is, boundaries are one of the kindest things you can offer, not just to yourself, but to others. When you communicate your boundaries clearly and kindly, you're giving people a roadmap to engage with you in a way that feels good for both parties. This is where the metaphor of the bridge comes into play. Unlike walls, which are designed to block and defend, bridges are about connection. They allow you to build meaningful relationships without losing yourself in the process. When you set boundaries, you're not pushing people away, you're inviting them to meet you at a place of mutual understanding and respect. Consider a bridge in a literal sense. It connects two places, creating a path that allows movement back and forth. But a bridge also has limits. It's built to withstand a certain amount of weight, designed to ensure safety for those who cross it. If it's overloaded or poorly maintained, it can collapse. The same is true of our emotional boundaries. They're not meant to carry the weight of everyone else's expectations, demands, or opinions. When we allow them to, we risk emotional burnout, resentment, and even the loss of our sense of self. Learning to set boundaries starts with self-trust. Trusting yourself means recognizing your own needs and honoring them without guilt or shame. It means listening to that inner voice that says, this is too much, or I need time for myself. When you ignore these cues, you chip away at your ability to trust yourself. Over time, this can lead to feelings of disconnection, both from yourself and from others. On the other hand, when you set and uphold boundaries, you reinforce your trust in yourself. Each time you say no to something that doesn't align with your values or capacity, you're saying yes to your own well-being. Each time you advocate for your needs, you're reminding yourself that you are worthy of care and respect. But setting boundaries isn't always easy, especially if you've been conditioned to prioritize others' needs over your own. Many of us have internalized the idea that saying no is selfish or that setting limits will make us less likable. Overcoming these beliefs requires a shift in perspective. Boundaries aren't about being selfish, they're about being self-aware. They're not about withholding, they're about protecting the energy you need to show up as your best self. One of the most empowering aspects of boundaries is how they deepen our relationships. When we set boundaries, we invite authenticity into our interactions. We're no longer saying yes out of obligation or resentment, we're saying yes because we genuinely want to. This honesty creates a foundation of trust and respect. It allows us to engage with others from a place of integrity, free from the weight of unmet expectations or hidden frustrations. It's also important to recognize that boundaries are not static, they are dynamic and evolve over time. What you needed to feel safe and supported a year ago might be different from what you need today. This fluidity is not a sign of inconsistency, it's a reflection of growth. As you learn more about yourself, your boundaries will naturally shift to align with your current needs and values. Of course, setting boundaries doesn't mean everyone will respect them. Some people may push back, especially if they benefited from your lack of boundaries in the past. This resistance can be challenging, but it's not a reflection of your worth or the validity of your boundaries. It's a reflection of their discomfort with change. In these moments, it's crucial to stay grounded in your self-trust and remember why you set the boundary in the first place. It's also worth noting that boundaries are not just about saying no, they're also about saying yes to the things that matter most. By creating limits around what you can't or won't do, you create space for the people, experiences, and opportunities that truly align with your values. Boundaries aren't just protective, they're expansive. They allow you to prioritize what brings you joy and fulfillment. Ultimately, boundaries are a bridge to self-trust because they teach you to honor your own needs without apology. They remind you that it's okay to take up space, to ask for what you need, and to prioritize your well-being. When we embark on a journey toward achieving our goals, the natural instinct is to share our aspirations with those around us. Whether it's excitement, a desire for validation, or a hope for support, we often feel compelled to let others in on our dreams. But not everyone in your life is equipped or entitled to have a front row seat to your goals. In fact, being selective about who gets that privileged view is not only wise, but essential for staying focused and resilient on your path. Imagine your life as a theater. Your goals are the story unfolding on stage, and the audience represents the people in your life. The front row is the most intimate space. It's where the people closest to you sit, those whose opinions, encouragement, and insights you trust the most. But the rest of the seats, they're for acquaintances, casual supporters, and even skeptics who don't need full access to your plans or progress. The key to understanding this concept is recognizing that not everyone has earned the right to sit in the front row. Some people might be in your life for other reasons, such as shared history or circumstance, but that doesn't automatically qualify them to have an up-close view of your dreams. They may lack the capacity to fully support you, or their input may do more harm than good, whether intentionally or unintentionally. It's tempting to assume that the people closest to us, family members, longtime friends, or colleagues, deserve a front row seat by default. But proximity doesn't always equal alignment. For example, a close friend may deeply care for you, but struggle to understand or support your specific ambitions. Similarly, a family member may mean well, but project their fears or doubts onto your dreams. This is why discernment is crucial. Sharing your goals with the wrong people can have unintended consequences. At best, it might lead to confusion or indifference. At worst, it can invite negativity, skepticism, or even sabotage. Some people, consciously or unconsciously, may react to your goals with envy, criticism, or dismissal. Their words and actions can plant seeds of doubt that grow into significant obstacles. To protect your goals and maintain your momentum, you need to be selective about who you allow into your inner circle. The people in your front row should be those who genuinely support your vision, celebrate your progress, and challenge you constructively. They should be individuals who inspire you to keep going, even when the road gets tough, and who remind you of your potential when self-doubt creeps in. I think of your goals as a delicate plant. In its early stages, it needs careful nurturing, protection, and a controlled environment to grow strong roots. Sharing your goals too widely or with the wrong people is like exposing that plant to harsh winds before it's ready. By being intentional about who you share with, you're creating the conditions for your dreams to flourish. Boundaries play a significant role in this process. It's not about shutting people out or being secretive, it's about setting limits around what you share, when, and with whom. Boundaries allow you to protect your energy and focus while still maintaining healthy relationships. For example, you might choose to share specific updates only with trusted individuals who have demonstrated their ability to provide constructive feedback or encouragement. But what about those who aren't in your front row? It's important to remember that not everyone needs to have an intimate view of your journey. Some people are better suited to the middle or back rows of your theater. This doesn't diminish their value in your life. It simply reflects the role they play in this particular chapter. For those in the middle rows, casual updates or high-level overviews may suffice. They don't need to know every detail, and that's okay. As for the skeptics or detractors in the back row, it's often best to keep them at a distance. Engaging with them too much can drain your energy and distract you from your goals. Being selective about who sits in your front row is also a form of self-respect. It's an acknowledgement that your goals are worth protecting and that you deserve to be surrounded by people who uplift and empower you. When you allow unqualified voices into your inner circle, you risk compromising your focus, confidence, and progress. It's also worth noting that the front row isn't a permanent seat. As you grow and evolve, so too will your relationships. Some people may move closer as they demonstrate their ability to support and align with your goals. Others may drift further away as their role in your life shifts. This fluidity is natural and reflects the dynamic nature of personal growth. One of the most challenging aspects of this process is accepting that not everyone will understand or support your goals, and that's okay. Your dreams don't need universal approval to be valid. What matters is that they resonate with you and align with your values and aspirations. Protecting your goals doesn't mean isolating yourself or refusing help. In fact, having a strong, supportive front row can make all the difference. It's about finding the right people who can walk alongside you with encouragement, wisdom, and accountability. These are the individuals who celebrate your victories, no matter how small, and remind you of your strength when the journey feels overwhelming. Finally, remember that you don't need to justify your goals or choices to anyone outside your front row. The further someone is from the stage, the less context they have and the less qualified they are to offer meaningful input. By keeping your goals centered within your trusted circle, you create a focused, intentional space for growth and progress. In a world that prizes instant gratification and public validation, keeping our dreams to ourselves might feel counterintuitive. We're encouraged to share, to declare our goals boldly, and to invite the world to witness our journey. But the truth is, dreams often grow best in the quiet, protected spaces of our minds and hearts. Before they are ready to face the scrutiny of the spotlight, they need the stillness of silence to take root, grow strong, and prepare for the challenges of reality. Think about a seed. When it's first planted, it's buried deep in the soil, hidden from view. The seed doesn't need an audience to begin its transformation. What it requires is nourishment, time, and protection from harsh elements. Your dreams are no different. In their earliest stages, they are delicate and vulnerable. Exposing them too soon, whether to external criticism, comparison, or even well-meaning advice, can hinder their growth or stifle them altogether. One of the most compelling reasons dreams thrive in silence is because it allows you to focus on the essence of the dream itself, free from external noise. The early phases of any aspiration are about exploration and discovery. This is when you're figuring out what excites you, what feels possible, and what aligns with your values. Sharing your dreams too early can invite opinions that dilute your clarity. People may question your ideas, point out potential flaws, or impose their own fears onto your vision, causing you to second-guess yourself before you've had the chance to fully understand your own path. Silence provides a protective cocoon for creativity and courage. When you keep your dreams private, you give yourself permission to make mistakes, to experiment, and to learn without the pressure of an audience. This space allows you to stay connected to your inner voice, the one that knows why this dream matters to you in the first place. It's in the silence that you build the confidence and conviction to move forward, regardless of whether others understand or support your vision. Another reason dreams thrive in silence is that silence fosters action. Too often, the act of sharing our goals can create a false sense of accomplishment. Announcing our intentions can trick our brains into thinking we've already made progress, reducing the motivation to do the actual work. When we focus less on talking about our dreams and more on taking meaningful steps toward them, we set the stage for real progress. Moreover, silence protects your energy. Pursuing a dream requires focus, determination, and resilience, all of which can be drained by unnecessary external input. When you share your dreams prematurely, you open the door to unsolicited advice, doubts, and comparisons. Even the most supportive people may inadvertently project their limitations onto you, offering feedback that is more about their fears than your potential. Protecting your dreams in silence ensures that your energy remains centered on what truly matters, bringing your vision to life. It's also important to recognize that not all feedback is helpful, especially in the early stages. When your dream is still forming, it's like an unbaked cake. Handing it over to others for judgment before it's fully developed is both unfair to your dream and unproductive for you. By keeping your aspirations private, you allow them to develop until they're strong enough to withstand external scrutiny. Silence also fosters a sense of self-trust. When you keep your dreams close to your heart, you're relying on your own instincts and judgment to guide you. This doesn't mean you can't seek advice or support when needed, but it does mean you're prioritizing your own perspective above all else. Over time, this practice builds confidence in your ability to navigate challenges and make decisions that serve your goals. Of course, there's a time and place for sharing your dreams. Once they've grown strong enough to withstand the spotlight, sharing them can be empowering and even necessary. The key is knowing when that moment has arrived. By waiting until your dreams have developed roots, until you've taken actionable steps and gained clarity, you're better equipped to handle feedback and navigate the complexities of bringing your vision into the world. Dreams that thrive in silence are also less likely to be derailed by comparison. When you keep your goals private, you're less tempted to measure your progress against others. This freedom allows you to define success on your own terms rather than adopting someone else's metrics. It also helps you stay focused on your unique journey rather than getting distracted by what others are doing or achieving. Silence creates a sanctuary for persistence. Pursuing a dream often involves setbacks, challenges, and moments of doubt. When you've shared your goals too widely, the added pressure of others' expectations can make these moments even harder to navigate. But when your dreams are nurtured in silence, you're free to adapt, pivot, or even pause without feeling like you've let anyone down. This flexibility is crucial for long-term success. Ultimately, silence is not about secrecy or isolation, it's about intention and protection. It's about giving your dreams the space they need to grow without interference or judgment. In the quiet, you can focus on what truly matters, taking small, consistent steps toward your vision and staying connected to the why behind your aspirations. Silence allows your dreams to grow strong and resilient so that when they finally bloom in the spotlight, they do so with confidence, clarity, and purpose. In a world where opinions are easily accessible and validation often feels like a prerequisite for moving forward, it's tempting to seek clarity by asking others what they think. We look for approval, advice, or affirmation, hoping that external validation will illuminate our path. But clarity doesn't come from the approval of others, it comes from the willingness to act, even in the face of uncertainty. It's through action, messy, imperfect, and sometimes uncomfortable, that we discover what we truly want, what works, and who we are. Seeking validation as a starting point for clarity often leads to confusion. When we rely on others to define our direction, we risk losing sight of our own instincts and desires. Friends, family, and mentors may offer well-meaning advice, but their perspectives are shaped by their experiences, fears, and biases. What makes sense to them might not align with your values or aspirations. When you lean too heavily on validation, you hand over the steering wheel of your life to someone else, allowing their opinions to guide decisions that only you can make. Clarity, on the other hand, is deeply personal. It can't be outsourced or handed to you. It's not something you stumble upon by gathering consensus or assembling a perfect plan. Clarity is earned through movement. It comes from taking a step, any step, and observing the results. When you act, you gather data. You learn what feels right, what resonates, and what moves you closer to your goals. This is why action is such a powerful tool for self-discovery. Each action, no matter how small, creates a ripple effect. It reveals insights that no amount of planning or validation seeking can provide. For example, imagine you're considering a career change but feel stuck because you're unsure if it's the right move. No amount of advice from colleagues or hours spent pondering will give you the clarity that trying something new will. Whether it's taking a class, shadowing someone in the field, or working on a small side project, the act of doing gives you firsthand experience. It shows you what you like, what you don't, and what you might need to adjust. Action doesn't require certainty to begin. In fact, clarity and certainty are often the byproducts of action. Waiting until you feel 100% sure before taking a step is a recipe for stagnation. The truth is, you can't think your way into confidence. Confidence comes from doing, from proving to yourself that you are capable of figuring things out as you go. The sooner you act, the sooner you gain the clarity you seek. Relying on validation as a prerequisite for action also stifles creativity. When you wait for approval before moving forward, you're essentially asking others to greenlight your ideas. But creativity thrives in freedom, not consensus. Some of the most innovative ideas were initially met with skepticism or outright rejection. If their creators had waited for validation, those ideas might never have seen the light of day. Action also builds resilience, which is essential for navigating uncertainty. When you act without waiting for validation, you develop the ability to trust yourself. You learn that you don't need a safety net of approval to move forward. This self-trust becomes a powerful anchor, grounding you even when the opinions of others waver or conflict. One of the most liberating aspects of finding clarity through action is that it releases you from the pressure to get it perfect the first time. Action invites trial and error, experimentation, and growth. It's a process, not a one-time decision. Each step you take, even if it feels like a misstep, brings you closer to understanding what works for you. It's in the doing that you refine your vision, adjust your course, and discover what truly matters. Validation, by contrast, often ties you to external expectations. When you seek approval before acting, you're more likely to shape your decisions around what will please others or earn their praise. This can lead to choices that feel safe but ultimately unfulfilling. Over time, living for validation can erode your sense of self, leaving you disconnected from your own values and desires. Clarity through action also teaches you to embrace imperfection. It's easy to get stuck in analysis paralysis, convinced that you need a perfect plan before you can begin. But the reality is, no plan survives first contact with reality. Action reveals the gaps in your knowledge, the unexpected challenges, and the unforeseen opportunities. It's through this iterative process that your path becomes clearer. When you act, you also build momentum. Each small step forward creates a sense of progress, which fuels motivation and confidence. This momentum makes it easier to tackle bigger challenges and take bolder risks. The more you act, the more you reinforce the belief that clarity is something you create, not something you wait for. Perhaps the most important lesson of clarity through action is that it empowers you to take ownership of your life. Instead of waiting for others to validate your choices, you become the author of your own story. You learn to trust your intuition, adapt to changing circumstances, and chart a course that feels authentic to you. Clarity is not a destination, it's a practice. It's something you cultivate through courage, persistence, and a willingness to learn. Each step you take illuminates the path a little further, showing you not only where you're going, but also who you're becoming. In the pursuit of our dreams, goals, and authentic lives, we must remember that the journey is deeply personal. True growth and fulfillment come from within, not from external validation, approval, or guarantees of success. Whether it's setting boundaries, nurturing our aspirations in silence, or taking bold, imperfect actions, the key lies in trusting ourselves and prioritizing what aligns with our values. When we protect our dreams, honor our needs, and embrace the courage to act, we create a foundation of self-trust and resilience. We learn that clarity is not a gift others can give us, but a reward we earn through persistence, experimentation, and reflection. And in doing so, we claim the right to live authentically, unapologetically, and with a sense of purpose that is truly our own. Our dreams deserve the nourishment of silence, the strength of boundaries, and the momentum of action. They thrive not in the noise of external opinions, but in the quiet confidence of knowing we are capable of charting our own course. By stepping forward, even when the path is unclear, we create the clarity, strength, and self-trust needed to bloom in the spotlight when the time is right.